On the second day after being laid off, I received a call from the local demolition committee in my hometown, informing me that my house was scheduled for demolition. Why call me? Because I was the only one left alive in the family. That day, I immediately booked a sleeper train ticket home. The lights in the sleeper carriage had dimmed, and the temperature in the compartment began to drop. At 2 a.m., a pair of icy cold hands suddenly reached out, clamping onto my ankle. Immediately after, countless arms extended from thin air, pressing me firmly against the bed. I reluctantly opened my eyes and said in a cold voice, "Trying to kill me? Or get lost?" As soon as I finished speaking, the temperature in the compartment returned to normal. My name is Anya Wu, an unemployed older young woman. The day I received the call from the demolition committee was the same day I was laid off by my company. May I speak with Miss Anya Wu? This is she. Hello, Ms. Wu. We are calling from the Tolan Province Demolition Committee. Address 377 Tay Village, Toyuan Town. Is that your old family home? Yes. We are calling you because that house and 13.7 acres of your family's land are part of a government development project. We hope you can return soon to handle the matter. Seeing I didn't respond, the voice on the other end spoke again. Ms. Wu, are you still there? I sighed. I'm here. Can't someone else handle it for me? The person on the other end seemed hesitant, only speaking after a moment. Ms. Wu, normally, delegation is possible, but some incidents have occurred during the demolition process. Our superiors require you to return in person to resolve it. What incidents? I apologize, Ms. Wu, but we cannot discuss details over the phone. Our superiors will brief you personally when you return. When would be a convenient time for you to come back? I looked down at my peeling fingers, thought for a moment. I'll be back tomorrow. Very well. Goodbye, Miss D. Whoa. Gah. 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 Leaning against the bathroom door, I wearily booked a train ticket for that night, heading home. How could it be such a coincidence? Laid off an hour ago, and now my old house was slated for demolition. As I left the company, my colleague called after me. Anya, aren't you taking your stuff? I glanced at my desk. Besides my mug, there were no other personal belongings. Ms. D. Could you please throw away the mug for me? I don't need it anymore. Thank you. After packing my luggage at home, I sat blankly on the edge of the bed. Suddenly, whispers echoed in my ears. They said, you finally have to come back. You have to come back. You have to. Anya Wu, you can't escape. You'll never escape us, whether alive or dead. I ignored the sounds, bent down, and pulled out a box from under the bed. Inside was a string of bells. I tied it to my waist. I glanced at it and gave a sarcastic laugh. Oh, really? Then let's see. Let's see if you can follow me, in life or in death. As soon as the words left my lips, the noisy sounds of traffic outside vanished completely. The space became eerily silent, so quiet I could distinctly hear my own heartbeat. The mirror on my dressing table suddenly shattered. These petty tricks. I'd seen them since I was a child. I pulled a small bronze mirror wrapped in red cloth from my pocket and pointed it straight at the dark corner of the curtains. Ah! A shriek, piercingly sharp, almost tore my eardrums. The scream quickly disappeared, and the dark patch behind the curtains dissipated. The sounds of traffic outside returned. The road home would not be peaceful. Precisely at 2 a.m., the train carriage which had been bustling with a bit of noise, suddenly fell utterly silent. Not a single sound remained. As my fingers touched the string of bells at my hip, a hand reached out from thin air and clamped tightly onto my ankle. I didn't move, just closed my eyes. I gripped the bell chain tightly in my palm, but it still let out a few faint jingles. Sure enough, in the very next second, more icy-cold hands reached out from all directions, pressing me down onto the bed, rendering me immobile. The cold touch on my skin sent a primal shiver through me. I opened my eyes, sighed resignedly, and loosened my grip on the bells. In that moment, the bells seemed to ring from a distant, ancient place, heavy and full of malice. Before the ringing grew stronger, I opened my mouth, still not gone. The hand, clutching my ankle, immediately vanished. My body was free again. The temperature in the carriage gradually warmed, and the snoring of the uncle in the bunk above resumed as normal. I closed my eyes, intending to rest, when suddenly a scrutinizing gaze swept over me. I sat up from the middle bunk, my eyes locking with a man standing in the aisle of the carriage. He wore a blue and white jacket, his head shaven. He was backlit, so I couldn't make out his face clearly, but his eyes were incredibly strained. The gaze lasted only a few seconds. Then the man curved his lips in a slight smile and murmured, "My apologies. I'm in the wrong carriage." He then turned and left. Looking at his retreating figure, I knew he hadn't mistaken the carriage. He too could sense those things. Shaven head. Could he be a disciple of some monk? The rest of the night passed peacefully. At 7 a.m., I got off the train and stood on the platform, looking around, but the shaven-headed man was nowhere to be seen. As I exited the station, I saw a girl calling out to me. "Excuse me, are you Miss Anya Wu?" I took a step back and nodded. The girl's smile brightened. "Hello, Miss Wu. I'm Jingru Zhao from the demolition committee. Our superiors knew you were coming back today, so they asked me to meet you at the station." I was surprised. The demolition committee, is that considerate? Jingru Zhao just giggled, offering no explanation. At the demolition committee office, what greeted my eyes was not only their leadership, but also several people in police uniform. When they saw me, they didn't beat around the bush and immediately spoke. "Miss Wu, are you aware that all your family members are buried in your yard?" I nodded. "Yes." A police officer nodded in response. "That's good. Their graves must be relocated. A total of 3 graves. It's no longer permitted to erect graves arbitrarily in private yards. They can only be moved to a public cemetery." I paused. "Our graves. Ah, my yard should have 4 graves. Something was wrong." I didn't let my reaction show, simply nodding in silence. After signing all the demolition and grave relocation paperwork, they sent me home. Leaving the office, I didn't stop, but headed straight home. Tay village is one of several villages at the foot of the mountain. It had developed rapidly in recent years. Concrete roads now reached deep into the village, and there weren't many residents left. My house was next to a small stream. After years of absence, the surrounding neighbors had all built multi-story houses, but mine remained the same old tiled house from over a decade ago. I pushed open the wooden door and stepped inside. As the door opened, the first thing I saw was 3 tall burial mounds right in the middle of the yard. Step by step, I approached. The graves had no headstones. Weeds grew so tall, they reached above my head. I took a dagger from my pocket and began clearing the dense weeds from the mounds. Many years had passed, but my heart still ached with a suffocating pain. Here lay my grandfather, grandmother, and mother. The missing grave had been my father's. Who had stolen his body? Who had leveled his grave? As I cleared my grandfather's grave, the bells at my hip began to ring frantically. I changed my grip on the dagger, narrowing my eyes towards the weeds in the southeast corner. A demon was there, holding its breath, preparing to attack. I took 2 steps back. A wave of chilling wind swept past, and the demon lunged directly in front of me, revealing its face. A face rotten to the extreme. I immediately threw the talisman I was holding. In an instant, it let out a sorrowful shriek. The scream was so loud that pieces of rotten flesh fell from its face. And when I clearly saw the true face beneath, my heart suddenly constricted. That face was identical to my father's. It was my father's ghost. I was still stunned when it rushed close to me, striking out and extinguishing the soul lamp on my left shoulder. It lunged to bite my neck. With no other choice, I chanted a spell and grabbed its arm. My voice was hoarse, filled with pain, as I called out, "Father? Is that you, Father?" The ghost hesitated slightly. Its hand tightened on my left shoulder, and the wound immediately turned black. From that moment, I understood that this thing was no longer my father. I violently pulled the bell chain from my hip and pressed it directly into its Mingmen acupoint. After a few agonizing screams, the negative energy dissipated, and the sun began to peek out again. I collapsed to the ground, unable to get up for a long time. I had personally killed my father's ghost. Before I could recover, the voices returned, filled with glee. "Anya Wu, you killed your own father. You're truly vicious. You're destined to become a demon. Don't struggle anymore. Join us, join us." I was dazed, only able to stand up and look towards the mountain, saying in a cold voice, "You're all dead for sure." As soon as I finished, a mournful wail echoed from the mountain. The disturbance also caused several villagers who were hiding in their homes to rush out. A voice, surprisingly tinged with disbelief, spoke from behind me. "Anya Wu? Is that really Anya Wu?" I turned to see a man my age poking his head through the gate. When he clearly saw my face, his expression immediately tensed. "It really is you, Anya Wu." I nodded slightly. He gave a small cough. "Don't you remember me?" "I'm Caden. Wu Ga." I truly couldn't recall the name. I stepped out of the yard, looking at his neatly suited appearance. He must have just returned today as well. Caden also noticed my luggage by the door. You're also back because of the demolition, aren't you? I nodded. You too? Caden's expression seemed evasive. We've moved out. The demolition committee asked us to come back to collect our things and sign papers. My parents and I came back together. I looked over and saw two elderly people standing next to a car about 10 meters away, not having seen them for many years. Our unfamiliarity wasn't surprising. Caden and I spoke awkwardly for about 2 minutes. He said he had to go. Dien dien. I nodded. As he turned to leave, I called out, Caden. He turned his head, confused. What is it? I pursed my lips, but still spoke. Once you finish things here, leave immediately. The sooner, the better. His face showed horror, but no doubt. I also realized something was clinging to him. After a moment, Caden spoke with difficulty. Anya Wu, when we were kids, everyone in the village said your great-grandfather knew about strange things. Do you know too? I honestly shook my head. Caden's disappointment was obvious. He lowered his head again, saying nothing further. I took a yellow paper talisman from my pocket and handed it to him. Seeing his questioning look, I explained. This is a demon-warding talisman drawn by a master. I'm not sure if it will help you, but it's better than nothing. Caden took it and thanked me. The demolition committee and police worked very quickly. The next day, they came to help me relocate the graves. The night before, I had dug up my father's white skeleton under the tree behind the house. Fortunately, they didn't ask many questions, simply quietly granting me 4 burial plots. I returned, invigorated, because of that, to give my family a proper burial. With that matter settled, a weight was lifted from my heart. Lying on the bed, eyes wide open, I began to plan my next steps. Suddenly, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. As soon as I answered, a familiar voice spoke. Excuse me, is this Miss Anya Wu? I unconsciously rubbed my fingers. It's me. And you are? I'm Caden Wu's friend. He passed away this morning. Before he died, Caden said he met you, and you gave him a demon-warding talisman. I wonder if you could meet me for a moment? Without thinking much, I refused. It's not convenient. I'm about to leave. Before the other end could say anything more, I hung up. Caden Wu was dead, so quickly. Could his death also be related to that thing on the mountain? Thinking this, I grabbed my luggage and left the house. This time, my destination was that mountain. As I reached the foot of the mountain, I saw a man in a blue and white jacket and a hat standing there. He was very perceptive. Even though I moved quickly, he detected me. I immediately recognized him as the shaven-headed man from the train. When he saw me, he approached. His voice somewhat familiar. Are you Anya Wu? We met on the train. I'm Dongfang. You're the one who called me this morning. Dongfang nodded. That's right, Ms. Wu. I have a few questions, if you don't mind. I looked past him, towards the mountain. Go ahead. Dongfang's voice was lighter than the wind. Ms. Wu, why did you give Caden Wu a demon-warding talisman? I sensed negative energy around him, so I gave it to him. The atmosphere on the mountain seemed to be changing. Dongfang, also keenly aware, shifted his gaze from me to the mountain. I sighed inwardly. Naki, how did Caden Wu die? Dongfang didn't hide it. He drowned in a basin of water. There was a black handprint on the back of his neck. He was probably held down by a ghost. Then what are you doing at the foot of the mountain? Dongfang looked directly at me. After a moment, he suddenly said something strange. Miss Wu, you're quite interesting. You have an extra soul. I froze. He knew that secret just by looking at me. Nevertheless, I spoke evenly. Caden Wu's soul is gone, isn't it? Dongfang nodded. I suspect it was dragged away by something on the mountain. I took a deep look at the mountain and then left. Dongfang accompanied me. When we reached the main road, I saw an SUV, probably his car. Miss Wu, let me give you a ride. I won't be polite then. On the way back, Dongfang asked casually, Miss Wu, what's on that mountain? I thought with your abilities, you'd know. Dongfang gave a slight chuckle. I know what it is, but I don't understand why it took Caden Wu's soul. Trees flashed past the car window. I sighed. Perhaps it's using Caden Wu's soul to kill me. This time, Dongfang was silent for quite a while. Then he asked, sounding suspicious, is the mountain spirit insane? It wants to kill you? In that moment, Dongfang's eyes suddenly trembled. He quickly turned to look at me. Could that extra soul be its? I neither nodded nor shook my head. Mr. Dongfang, are you a monk? This question clearly caught him off guard. He had tilted his head, allowing me to see his profile. Handsome, unlike any monk I had ever encountered. Dongfang coughed, paused, and then glanced at me fleetingly. A lay disciple. I glanced at the rearview mirror. The negative energy on the mountain was even denser. This guys! Dongfang slammed on the brakes. Even though I reacted extremely quickly, a large tree still crashed directly onto the car hood. He looked over, his expression grim. Something's here. As soon as he finished, crows violently slammed against the car windows. Dongfang frowned, pulled out a yellow talisman, and stuck it on the dashboard. The crows lessened, but the negative energy became suffocatingly thick. A sense of foreboding rose in my chest. Sure enough, Caden Wu's ghost appeared in the back seat. He had only been dead for a day. Yet he was already so steeped in negative energy, it was suffocating. His eyes were fixed on me as he lunged forward, his face bloated and distorted. I didn't move. Just as his hand was about to plunge into my heart, Dongfang whipped his horsehair whisk, coiling it around Caden Wu's ghost and pulling it away. A bone-chilling scream echoed as Caden Wu disappeared. I was startled. You destroyed it? Dongfang's expression didn't change. He opened the door, intending to get out. I instinctively grabbed his arm. He said in a cold voice, No? I collected it. He tilted his head, signaling me to look behind. I looked back. It was a swarm of ghosts, more precisely, a swarm of vengeful spirits. Miss Wu. If I'm guessing correctly, these are the souls of people who died around these villages in recent years. I said frankly, yes. Dongfang got out of the car. I followed. The dense black swarm of ghosts sent shivers down my spine. He stood beside me, his voice heavy. What does it want? It's gone mad. Save yourself. Dongfang immediately understood. Times change, beliefs fade, and spiritual entities, born from faith, weaken and vanish. Stronger entities, when on the verge of disappearing, will tear off a soul to be reincarnated, suffer, die in resentment, and transform into a demon. This completes the transformation from spirit to demon. And as for me, that extra soul is one of the mountain spirit's own souls. The ghosts approached, and I began to recognize some familiar faces from my childhood. They were indeed people from the neighboring villages. Dongfang frowned. Yeah, and I saw the if the soul within you belongs to it, why does it keep sending ghosts to kill you? And what does it gain by killing you? I pulled the bells from my waist, my eyes not leaving the ghosts, because it wants me to kill ghosts. The more I kill, the easier it will be for me to transform into a demon. I let out a desperate yet soft sound. Mr. Dongfang, have you ever seen a living person with an extra soul? He froze, his eyes wide with disbelief. You are a dead person. I curved my lips, not directly answering. If I kill too many ghosts, the last ghost I destroy will myself. Dongfang took 2 steps forward, drew his whisk, his aura flaring. Compared to letting you kill the demon that is Miss Wu, I'd rather help you find peace. That's what I'm best at. He charged into the swarm of ghosts. With each whip, chunks of negative energy dissipated. I clutched the bells tightly, looking up at the mountaintop. A dark shadow flickered there. No, it was a faint glowing shadow. It was barely holding on. It was waiting for me because it was dying. The bells in my hand vibrated wildly. The ancient ringing caused the ghosts to slow down, then stop completely. The vibration frequency increased until my hand was burning hot. Boom! The bells exploded. Metal shards pierced through my palm. A ghost seized the opportunity and lunged. I instinctively brought my bloodied hand up and grabbed its neck. With a slight squeeze, the cold energy within it was drained and vanished. Dongfang saw everything. He rushed over and pulled me away. We ran to the main road. Dongfang hunched over, gasping for breath, while I collapsed onto the ground. Miss L. Wu, are you okay? I breathed in ragged gasps. No, I'm fine. A piece of the bell had pierced straight through my palm. After leaving the hospital, Dongfang took me to a hotel. Standing outside the room, he said seriously, Miss Wu, can we talk for a moment? I silently looked at him for a while, then leaned over and opened the door. Dongfang sat opposite me. After a moment, he began. Half a month ago came to me. He said he encountered a ghost. I accepted the commission to investigate and found that the ghost clinging to him was a male ghost who had drowned. I asked Caden if he knew the man, and he insisted he didn't. Just then, he received a call telling him to return home to handle demolition procedures. Caden was eager to resolve the matter quickly, and catching ghosts isn't difficult, so I didn't think much of it. Initially, I intended to catch that ghost and help it find peace. I did catch it, but when I prepared for the ritual, I discovered it couldn't be appeased. The ghost, clinging to Caden, disappeared. So our commission was complete. I was curious about what exactly happened in this place, so I followed. On the train, I noticed a group of things appearing in the compartment. When I went to investigate, they all vanished, leaving only you, Miss Wu. Meeting you, I originally thought it was just a coincidence. This world is full of mysteries. I planned to stay in the county for a few days, but then Caden Wu's father called to say he had died. I rushed to their residence and found Caden's soul had vanished. Even using the soul summoning spell, I couldn't call it back. That day, I learned you had given Caden a demon warding talisman, which led to what happened next. At that point, Dongfang paused. He looked up at me. So, Ms. Wu, what is your story? I opened my eyes, glanced at him, and then stood up and began to unbutton my shirt. Dongfang gasped and recoiled. Amitabha, I turned my back to him. Open your eyes and look. He opened his eyes and looked for a long time, seeing no movement. I was about to turn back when he blurted out, "Wait!" I heard his footsteps approach. His cold fingers touched my back. Next came a voice full of astonishment. "This is cadaveric lividity. It turns out this world is truly strange." I put my shirt back on and sat on the bed. Outside, the sky suddenly darkened. Thunder and lightning roared. Dongfang stood by the window, looking towards the mountain. Dark clouds hung heavy. A heavy rain was about to pour down. He said, "It's really dying." My eyes met Dongfang's. When my mother was pregnant with me, she went up the mountain with my father. My father saw no harm in it and took her. Unexpectedly, while picking mushrooms, a wild rabbit darted out and hit her. My mother fell very hard. The whole family turned pale with fear. My father carried her down the mountain. That night, she bled. They thought they wouldn't save me, but in the end, they did. I was born, but my mother fell ill. To use today's terms, it was probably postpartum depression. Whenever she was alone with me, she wanted to strangle me. She always said I wasn't her child. My father couldn't bear it, so he took her far away, and I was left with my grandparents. When I was just learning to walk, if my grandmother looked away for a moment, I would run up the mountain. My grandfather found me sitting among a flock of rabbits. He used to tell fortunes and deal with spiritual matters for people. He was very skilled with ghosts and gods. But he recognized my difference. It was also during that trip up the mountain that he found a bell, the very bell that shattered my hand. He discovered that as long as I wore the bell, I would be like a normal child, and even my grandmother's illness lessened significantly. The tragedy happened when I was 5 years old. My father brought my mother's ashes home. Her death devastated him. After my mother died, my grandfather would stare blankly into space, calling for his daughter-in-law and telling her to hold the grandchild. He began to get scared. One night, he secretly took me up the mountain. He sought it out. It was very weak then. He often took me to worship it. A few months later, my father also became like my mother. My father caused people's deaths, claiming they were his children. Then, I started having continuous accidents. My father threw me into the river. I was abducted by thugs, beaten, fell into a well. Each time, I was pushed to the brink of death. But each time, I survived. I don't know what my grandfather knew, but he dug up my mother's grave and moved it directly into the family yard. After that, I lived peacefully for another 6 months. Then my father also passed away. When my father died, my grandfather also buried him right in the yard. Later, my grandmother also passed away and was buried in the yard as well. Speaking up to this point, I gasped for breath, suppressing the lump in my throat. When I was 15 and preparing for high school, my grandfather entrusted me to a friend, telling me never to return home. The next time I heard about him was 3 years after I left. The person who took me in said my grandfather had passed away. The things that clung to me on the train were creatures that once existed on that mountain. After dying, they transformed into such strange beings. I had to come back because I couldn't run anymore. The time of freedom my grandfather bought me had expired. Half a year ago they found me. I started affecting those around me. Although I loved my friends, their jobs were also affected. I knew it was forcing me back, so I returned. Dongfang and I sat opposite each other. Outside, the rain began to pour. Wind lashed rain violently against the window. I almost pleaded. I am a dead person. The truth is, I only died 6 months ago. The cadaveric lividity started appearing then, but each time, that bell erased the death stains from me. Now the bell is broken, and its time is also up. The storm, the chaotic negative energy, it has gone mad. We have to stop it, or it will kill all the villages around here. Dongfang's eyes were deep, with a hint of skepticism. Clearly, he didn't believe me. Powerless, I could only say, I'm telling you the truth. He was silent for a few seconds, then spoke. What do you want? I pursed my lips. That was the question I needed. You know how to draw soul-destroying talismans, right? I was certain, believing he knew. I took out the prepared items for drawing talismans and said seriously, I need you to draw soul-destroying talismans all over my body, covering me completely. I glanced at him, then towards the mountaintop. This time, it has to die. Dongfang was silent, his eyes darkening. If soul-destroying talismans are drawn on your body, once you die, both your body and soul will be instantly incinerated. Are you planning to use yourself to kill it? Ow. How will you kill it? I said calmly. I have a way. You just need to lend a hand. What reason do I have to help you? I gestured outside. The negative energy was spreading into every house. The incessant rain and the weather forecast signaled disaster. If you want to prevent a catastrophe, your only option is to trust me. Dongfang's eyes were heavy. Finally, he picked up the brush. I'll draw your back. You draw the front yourself. I nodded. Even though we worked very quickly, it still took us nearly 4 hours to cover my entire body. It was already 1 a.m., and the rain showed no signs of stopping. Dongfang stepped out of the bathroom and asked, Are we leaving now? I put on my backpack. Yes. We go now. Before we went up the mountain, I reminded him, when it dies, all the vengeful spirits it imprisoned will scatter. Be prepared. Dongfang nodded seriously. Don't worry, I've called for reinforcements. They'll arrive in half an hour. I nodded slightly and started up the mountain. After walking about 10 meters, he called out, Mizzy, ooh, good luck. My feet froze. In that moment, I felt he had realized my ultimate intention. It had come to this. The only way was to gamble everything. The mountain was wide, but not very tall. After walking for about half an hour, the sounds of crawling creatures began to emerge in the pouring rain. I stopped. Sure enough, in the very next moment, an intense wave of fear surged from deep within my heart. Unwarranted panic and sorrow washed over me like a tide. It was here. My hands trembling, I stripped off all my clothes, revealing only the red talismans covering my body. A calm voice echoed around me. You are truly persistent. I didn't move. I opened my backpack, took out a piece of dark wood, and gripped it tightly in my hand. The moment the dark wood touched my skin, the chaotic emotions slowed, and the fear was suppressed. I adjusted my position amidst the grass, scoffing, of course not as persistent as you. After all these years, you're still alive. Ketamp! As soon as I finished speaking, my heart felt squeezed. The sudden pain made my vision darken. Blood almost choked me in my throat. My appearance seemed to please it greatly. I only know so, you said, fine. It chuckled twice. Before it could strike again, the talismans on my body began to change from red to yellow. The light from my body illuminated a patch of the dark forest. I lowered my head, clutching the piece of wood tightly, praying, Grandfather, protect me. Suddenly a cold current lifted me off the ground. A scrutinizing gaze swept over my naked body, not to look, but to examine the soul-destroying talismans. Very quickly, its voice resonated. So, this is your trick. I gave a dry laugh, saying nothing. Anya Wu, have you forgotten? It was I who saved you. Without me, you would have died long ago. Your life belongs to me, doesn't it? Finally, I pinpointed where it was standing. Thinking of the years of struggle I had endured, the seeds of resentment in my heart erupted to the heaven. Before my grandfather died, his last words to me were, you must live for yourself. Don't lose yourself. At this point, I could no longer suppress my anger. I screamed at it with a tearing heart. It was you. It was you. Everything was your doing. You targeted my mother, intentionally lured her up the mountain, causing the rabbit to hit her. You extracted a part of your own soul and put it into my body. According to your plan, I should have died on the mountain that day, so you could possess my body, become me, and complete your transformation. But fate had other plans. You failed. You still don't understand why, do you? You will never succeed. You will never transform into a mountain demon. I scoffed coldly. You were born of goodwill. The villagers below this mountain never betrayed you. It's just that those who believed in you have died. Suddenly, the image of an old man appeared in my mind. No, they didn't all die. My grandfather still believed you were you. Why? A tree branch from somewhere lashed violently across my back. Its voice turned cold. You think drawing a few talismans will bind me? Ha ha! What childish thinking. I realized its voice was getting closer and closer. When it was near, I suddenly reached out and pulled it. The moment I touched it, my soul trembled. An invisible pressure bore down on every organ. I gritted my teeth and held on tight, refusing to let go. It seemed to roar, pressing into my Mingmen acupoint. In the next instant, it would pull out my soul. There was only one chance. I had an extra soul. It naturally lacked a soul. The talismans on my body grew hot. No, they were burning. I gritted my teeth and pressed the piece of dark wood onto the burning soul-destroying talisman on my body. Ah! It screamed. In a daze, I seemed to see a face similar to its own, but full of horror. I chuckled softly. Don't you remember? This has been parasitic since you were born. The piece of wood was once human-sized. Now only this fragment remains, but it's still effective. I pulled it tighter, speaking crazily. Finally, you have to die, so help me live. Pour all your remaining energy into me, can you? Can you? No! Ow! I can't move. Ha-ha, because you're about to die. What? I wiped blood from the corner of my mouth and covered the soul-destroying talisman on my left shoulder. Immediately, the talisman turned pale green. It was stunned, disbelieving. A swallowing talisman. Yes, I will swallow you. Die. Boom. Rumble. Several points on the mountain collapsed. Negative energy spread from them. It was dead. Well, the mountain spirit was dead. A mountain spirit born of good intentions, now dissipated amidst the mountains and forests. The piece of dark wood was gone. I looked at my empty hands and burst into tears. Grandfather, I succeeded. The man who died for me, who silently took care of everything throughout his life, even in death. My clothes were all gone, my entire body stained with blood. As I stood up, Dongfang arrived and offered me his jacket. When I had put it on, he said, "You asked me to draw soul-destroying talismans, but you forgot that your left soul lamp was extinguished. You have an extra soul, and one of your soul lamps is out, which is called Chi Men Buru, vital energy, not entering. In that case, the soul-destroying talismans on your body transform into another type, a swallowing talisman. You swallowed the mountain spirit, didn't you?" Dongfang and I looked at each other for a long time. Then I said softly, "I just wanted to live like it." Dongfang said nothing more and accompanied me down the mountain. I looked up at the dark sky and gave a bitter smile. It'd be a soul to easily possess my body. That's right. I never expected that the soul it gave me would also be the tool for me to swallow its soul. Its soul was the intermediary that made it impossible to distinguish between us. Clearly, we won this game. From the moment I stepped out of the station, my family's survival plan of over 20 years had begun. And with its energy, I will become a new existence in this world. Not a ghost, not a spirit, but Anyawuwa. Oh,